as they share insights on achieving lasting success by balancing ambition and well-being. So once again, let's have first session started. Thank you.
Hello everyone. Good morning. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us, and I'm super excited about this panel. So this session will address navigating through various phases in our careers as an individual contributor, as a software manager, as a software engineer, as a technical program manager, and something that binds each of us, a caregiver beyond work. Each of our panelists' stories are very diverse, and the message we want to emphasize here is you are not alone. Each career journey is different, but we should all make our way around the support system we have to thrive in this tech industry. We also will discuss something around the profound influence that building and nurturing professional relationships can have in each of our own career development. So whether you're a recent graduate, a mid-career professional, or someone who is seeking to transition into a new field, developing and maintaining a robust network can offer each of us the essential support and open valuable opportunities. I'm super excited to be in conversation with Deepa, Madhu, Suma, and Neha. We thought when we were thinking what is it that we can start with, and given this is the first session, I had it in my wish list to do like a rapid fire. So I have the privilege to do that with these amazing women. We'll start with you, Deepa, and this is like going to be really quick. So who is your women in tech inspiration?
Well, it's Sheryl Sandberg, and be it her advocacy for women or be it the transformation she got in Facebook, it inspires me. And her Lean In is my, a go-to book which I go for leadership.
Thank you. And I know we have a lot of folks from the Lean In community here, so a shout out to all of you as well. Neha, you want to share your answer on a woman in tech inspiration?
My inspiration is Sudha Murthy. So I really amazed like how diverse she is. And I read her story like she was the first person, woman to pursue engineering from her college, how she fought through the system where so there was not even a women's restroom in her engineering college, how she persisted, how she became a professor, and then how she continued working at, how she got her job at Telco, and then how she also pursued her passion for writing. It's really impressive.
Thanks, Neha. So Suma, what are the values that resonate the most with you?
Heavy question for a morning. But I think integrity at work and at not at work as well. That's something that comes most.
Absolutely, yeah.
And as women, we forget a few things. That is personal growth and self-discipline, and be vocal about what you want to do. Right.
Right.
So I think you will hear me say this again and again. But these are the values that I value the most.
Thank you so much, Suma. I think for me, it has always been courage, resilience, and empathy. And I think I have tried and incorporate that in a lot of what I do at work and home. Okay, to a lighter question. So whom can we? Okay, Neha, what is one self-care routine that you want to talk about that you do for yourself?
Okay, this is might sound a little geeky, but I saw a Sudoku puzzle a day. I started doing this few months ago, and I feel really nice and calm after doing that. So I do that.
Nice. Madhu, you want to share?
Sure. I'm going to answer in kind of 3 time spans because I've been thinking about this question. While massages and candles are like really nice, I think a true self-care, I think you can think about it from 3 perspectives. One is, it might be too late for most of us, but I still see a lot of young people. If you want to have a partner in life, choose the right partner, because it's very important that you have the right setup, right? If you already have a partner, talk to them, come to the same terms. I think it's very important. On a more ongoing basis, especially for women with a busy job, physical exercise is super important. I know it feels like the last thing you want to do after a very tiring day, etc. But trust me, like the more you take care of yourself, the more energy you'll have to take on like more problems. So that is on an ongoing basis. On an everyday basis, feel free to break some rules and do what makes you feel better. Today for me it looked like wearing my favorite silk sari but pairing it with sneakers because I knew I was going to walk around a lot, right? So do what works for you. Take a multi-year view where you can.
Wow, thanks so much, Madhu. Deepa, some passion project that you want to talk about that you've done lately?
Okay, so outside of tech, it's mainly traveling. So I travel with my friends and family, but what empowers me the most is solo travel.
Mm-hmm.
So I started it during these COVID times, I mean, just after COVID, and each trip has brought in new perspectives, has helped me mix with the locals, and it gives me that confidence that, yes, I can just take this world.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah, thanks for sharing. I think given this is the Grace Hopper Conference, one passion project that I realized a few years back was giving back to the community by working closely with young individuals, especially who are transitioning from college to the industry. And life is so different when it's like you're just thrown into the ocean. So I had a personal initiative I started called Prayogshala, where I got to work with like a lot of young minds during COVID. And it's so heartening to like bump into each of them like now in conferences like this. So I hold that very close. Um, Madhu, what is an alternate profession that you would have thought of if you were not in tech?
Growing up, I was trained in classical music and dance, and now with the explosion of YouTube and Instagram, etc., I feel like I could probably be in either singing or dancing and mixing that with some kind of social media.
Wow, nice. Thanks for sharing that. Suma, maybe you can talk to us about a book that you're reading.
I'm carrying it right now.
Wow.
Okay? So I read a lot of books on personal growth,
Mhm.
and the current one that I'm reading is Hyper Focus.
Wow.
Now, this is kind of sequential that you should be reading. Atomic Habits is the first one, and after that, The Deep Work, and
Okay.
then this one. Amazing book. Amazing, everyone. You should just go through that.
Thanks for sharing. Um, I want to end this rapid fire with something that we all very closely resonate with, which is my question to Neha, which is the last show that you really binge watched on an online platform?
Rocket Boys. I
Right.
got so impressed by that story, and of course, the execution was also very well done. So, really impressive how those guys broke the boundaries at that time.
Thanks. Thanks to like the four of you for all the candor, and I'm sure this was a fun start. I just want to show of hands. When we were chatting, I think one theme that resonated with all of us is life can be very imperfect, and career journeys are often not linear, right? Can I get a show of hands on how many of you agree with this? Wow, that's heartening. That's heartening. So I want to spend a moment in asking each of them to talk about their career journeys, and I'm sure we can take a lot of inspiration. Like I was truly inspired, like talking to them and hearing some of them. So Deepa, we'll start with you. Maybe you can throw some light.
Sure. Thank you, Lakshya. So I started my career as a developer in Saskane. It was my campus job. And then I realized that, okay, I like testing. Let me move to the QA domain. After a short stint in Siemens, I was excited to join a company that I always wanted to join, which was IBM, and only to realize that the domain was databases. Well, why I'm telling this is that because databases was a subject which I barely passed in engineering. So now here I was, and I didn't have a choice to change because I was pregnant with my first child, and also some financial commitments. So I just took that challenge and converted this dislike into my strength, put in some extra hours, and gain my technical expertise. So fail fast, adapt, and ask the right questions, especially in an interview. So these are some things that I learned in the early years of my career, and I carry forward even now. This has helped me, move across domains, across technologies and teams. So as I grew and explored the Scrum Master role, I found interest in management. But back then, everybody was ready to give a chance to experienced managers. So first timers, nobody wanted to. So I started this approach of cold pinging or cold emailing. So whenever there was a business unit which was formed or a new team, I would just go and ping the leader and congratulate them, of course, and then introduce myself and tell, these are the skills that I can bring onto the table, and express my interest in management. Sometimes it was very frustrating. I've gone home and cried seeing that my career is going nowhere, but I persevered. So then I found home in the IBM Cloud team, but this entire journey gave me a lot of connections. It increased my networking and gave my leaders were all, they were confident in me that, okay, I can handle different collaboration opportunities, client connects, and different programs across the org. So one way it was good. So, and then as a people manager, right? So one thing which actually gives me a lot of satisfaction is that when my people come to me and tell me that how I empowered them in achieving their career milestones. Like I have these chats or those mails which they have sent. I still preserve them. Of course, there have been setbacks. Sometimes, I've thought I'm like awesome in some areas, only to realize that I failed in them. So, but yeah, these are eye openers, and and then I've pushed myself, sort of developed a growth mindset, and I'm going forward to achieve what I want to get.
Thanks.
That's me, Deepashri.
Thanks, Deepshri. Thank you so much for sharing. Madhu?
Yeah, I can go next. I'm originally from Mysore. Did my schooling in a small town called Chumaga. My father was in bank, so kind of had the childhood where we'd go from school to school a bit. Software engineer by my undergrad background, worked in a cloud computing startup for a couple of years. In the startup, I was very fortunate to get kind of very early exposure to technology, but multiple aspects of it, right? I was a software engineer, but I got exposed to business development, mergers, sales. At that point, my company was undergoing like an acquisition by EMC Square. So I got this really interesting view of things, and that's when I realized I really love technology, but I want to do more than coding. So decided to go to business school, got my MBA, still in technology strategy, chose Carnegie Mellon specifically because it had a very strong technology affinity, had a fabulous time kind of taking courses not just from business school, but School of Design, School of Computer Science, and then did strategy consulting for a couple of years, and then joined Google, recently completed 10 years there. Have been in a few different teams within Google, have progressed from being a solutions consultant to a program manager to now a program management lead, and happy to double click on any of that later.
Thanks. Thanks, Madhu. Suma, you want to go next?
Sure. From a career standpoint, I always joke saying I'm an accidental HR because I am a graduate in finance. And from finance to HR, it was a big this thing. But I met a mentor at the early stage of my career, and he said something, not to demean the finances of everywhere, but he said, Suma, 2 plus 2 will remain 4 even after 100 years. But to be able to read people and understand them will not remain the same. So you're in the right forum or right place. Please continue doing that. And that's where I said, okay, I'm not going to look back and I will continue. So I have been moving between individual contributor roles to building teams, to leading teams, to managerial roles, to the leadership roles, and so on. I think mostly that's how the career everybody goes through. But to be able to do that within a domain which I thought was not for myself was something of a big feat. I'll let Neha talk as well.
Thank you so much, Suma. So, when I look back at my career journey, one thing I realize is that a lot of times fate has something else in store for you. When I was completing my BTech at IIT Delhi in my final year, I was very clear that I want to pursue a career in research. And I didn't think that I would enjoy being a software engineer throughout very much. And as destiny would have it, here I am. I just completed like 20 years as a software engineer and an engineering manager at Google. So, one thing I would say is keep an open mind, and when things don't turn out the way you want them to be, what else you get is something perhaps much more suited to you. So with that, like that is the message I would share.
Yeah. Thanks, Neha. I think one quote that I was reminded of as I was listening to all the career journeys was, we can never connect the dots looking forward. I think I can relate to my own story where I did start as a software engineer after a master's degree, but then pivoted to data science and then explored program management to doing like technical program management now. I think each of us will have very different career journeys, and I think one thing is, please do not compare your journey to anybody else's, saying how I wish I had that. It doesn't work that way, right? This is like a marathon. With that, I just want to know a quick show of hands in just understanding the audience so that we can also tailor some of the questions accordingly. How many of you have just joined the industry, have less than 5 years of industry experience? You could be students as well, I see. Okay. And folks in mid-career, anywhere between like 6 years to 15 years? Okay. And folks who've like spent more than 15 years in the industry? Wow, we have a few of them as well. Amazing, amazing. Cool. So we'll start with a question pretty much targeted to like folks just joining the tech industry, right? I think it would be nice to hear from the panel on any insights that you can give on how folks who are just starting off can shine in the industry, some of the key strategies that has really helped you set a very strong foundation for this long journey. Suma, maybe we can hear from you first.
Absolutely. Um, Quickly, I can think of four of them.
Okay.
Um, One is you're new, learn. Learn what you're doing today, learn the adjacencies that you can go to, and learn more learning to be done when it comes to understanding the technology that you're in and the domain that you're in and what it can take you towards. That's first thing. Second thing, very related to the learning, is when you start talking about adjacencies and to seek what else can I learn, is when you will also start looking at networking.
Right.
That's the second piece. You need to be looking at who do I connect with to learn more about to start off with, and then that actually opens up, like how Neha was talking about. It opens up several opportunities later on. The third thing is don't wait for somebody to recognize you and talk about your work. Do that by yourself. Don't boast, not to be boasting or anything,
Yeah.
but self advocacy is very important at the stage that you're in. And the fourth one that I would talk about is um, the to be able to see what is there in the future and to be able to see what can I do to go
Okay.
there, right? So this is a combination of all of these things, but certainly it will work wonders if you are able to map that. And in the product management, language, it's the roadmap that you call,
Right.
right? So how do you map it, and how do you see your product coming, you yourself as a product, considering yourself coming through that?
Right. Thanks, Suma, for sharing. Neha, anything you want to add from your own journey?
Well, very similar to what Suma said, right? I maybe can give a few examples from my own life. So, when I joined Google 20 years ago, I was quite confident that I have good coding skills because I just graduated and we did a lot of coding as part of my BTech at IIT Delhi. But when I sent my first piece of code, it had so many mistakes according to the Google standards. So Google takes a lot of pride in its coding standards. And here I was wondering, how does it even matter that my variable names are this way or that way? What is my like mentor talking about? How does it, like, why is it? But then I realized the importance of those rules. And it happened to my multiple times. Like for the first few months, every code change that I send, so every code change that you send at Google, it is reviewed by at least one more person. And there were so many comments on my code. I felt so ashamed that what Deepa also said, every time you think you're so good at something, there will be so many more things you can improve upon. But then I took it upon as a challenge. I like spent days understanding the coding style guide of Google, getting a hang of those rules, and then eventually becoming very good at them. So I would say the very first thing at setting a strong foundation is take the basics. Look at what is the very first basic thing required for your job and become very good at it. Like spend hours. And when you're new to some place, you need to spend that extra time and effort. Even within Google, right, whenever I have changed a team, right? So for the first 5 years, I was working on the front end, right, at the user-facing product, Google Book Search. But then after 5 years, I decided I need some variety. I moved to Google Search, the indexing team of Google Search. It was like the back of the back end. And there, the toolkit required there was completely different. Initially, I felt that even after spending 5 years at Google, there is so much more I have to learn, which was precisely the reason I changed teams also. And then again, in my new team, I actually made a lot of mistakes also. But then, again, I took it as a challenge and the kind of toolkit that was required for this team, because here I was processing data which was in the order of billions, so the kind of tools we had for that, I decided I'll become a power user of those tools. And I spent a lot of days just like using those tools, and like getting better and better at them, and eventually like the features I knew about those tools, like people would come to me to learn. So that is one tip I would give, like get your basics right.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks.
It just reminded me that
Yeah.
I read a quote somewhere. For any new role that you take up,
Uh-huh.
you need a new view,
Yes.
right? Of, at work or off the work. You
Yeah.
become a mother, those of you who become a mother, a new view is needed, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for sharing that. I am a big believer of, the strength of weak ties. And there's also a joke that goes around in my team, but I genuinely value all the relationships that I build in conferences like this. So the next question, Deepa, to you, something that's very close to me is, what are some of the strategies that folks could use to build and cultivate and nurture their professional networks?
Okay. So, like you said, this is also a question close to my heart because this has actually helped me a lot in my career. So, especially as a woman, there are three things that we need to keep in mind. You need to be very strategic, you need to be yourself, and then you need to be intentional. So, never hesitate to speak up or, self-promote. And don't be very pushy, but say now also we have this, I got to know just some time back that you can scan this through the app, and this gives you all the information for LinkedIn Connect. So go back, connect to as many people as you can here, and then seal this with the digital connect. So later on, you can see that this builds a whole new networking ecosystem for you.
Yeah.
So also mentors and sponsors, they can open up new doors of opportunities, their network is going to add on to your network. So, and that surely makes a lot of difference. Another thing I want to emphasize is the culture where we are networking.
Yeah.
So is it something like this, which, where we can have a direct communication? Or is it sort of like a hierarchy-based one? It's not very difficult to find out that, because you just have to do a little homework, just observe, listen, and then do a little groundwork, and you can add value to that conversation in that any environment as such. See, networking is not only about receiving, it's also about giving.
Yeah.
So last, and something which surely helps each and everyone, is that don't be scared to ask for help.
Yeah.
See, we may not know everything. Of course, we are not expected to either. But there are people out there who want to share their knowledge.
Yeah.
My best mentors, my best sponsors are the ones whom I sought out for help.
Yeah.
So seek help and see how your connections grow. And yeah, that's pretty much
Yeah.
that.
Thanks, Deepa, for sharing. Yeah, sometimes we say we look out for mentors and sponsors, not knowing what we want from them. Right? Sometimes you want a mentor. I can go and say, Deepa, can you mentor me? Unless you give the exact ask on what you want to be mentored, it's very difficult for Deepa to mentor me. Right? Cool. I think a very funny thing, especially for early career women, I think the most simple thing I started consciously doing, and networking is like hard. Like there's going to be a masterclass today on networking if any of you are interested, but it's super hard, like wherever you are in your career. One of the things I started doing, any community events that I would attend, I would just ensure that I meet everybody there. Right? I did that even in the speaker reception, saying, yeah, I don't know them, I just go and say a hi. So keep your elevator pitch ready so that you get that 15 second, 20 seconds to just introduce yourself, and people will definitely remember you, and you can always go back to them, for any advice, any guidance that you need.
Can I
Yes,
add something?
of course.
I'm just curious how many of you here consider yourself as an introvert and find networking a little bit draining in terms of energy? Okay, I just want to say there is hope, right? So I'll give you my own example, because it's very important to recognize what activities bring you energy and what activities drain you energy. For me, the traditional networking was always something I considered as something that drains my energy. It felt like I couldn't be authentic self. So much so that when I joined the business school in US, it was a huge culture shock. Everything runs on networking, right? And we used to call this a circle of death. When the recruiters came in, people make a circle and it's impossible to get in, right? Because people want to be remembered. I got so turned off by that version of networking that I did not join many clubs, including the consulting club. However, I focused on smaller quantity of like high quality relationships, and I did end up getting that internship where it looked like being a part of that network was crucial, but I was not part of consulting club yet, got the same. So all I'm saying is there is no one way to go about it. If you go to an event, if you don't have that mental energy to speak with everyone, that is okay. There's always look around, right? There's always people who you can connect with, some commonality. It could be a college, it could be a background in terms of technical domain or whatever. And still start small and then be authentic. And I think the great point was made about giving forward. I think paying forward, helping is also a great way to build a network. So don't think that there's only one way to build your network and there's only one way to kind of keep in touch. Do what works for you and don't ever let that be like something that you dread.
Thanks, Madhu. I just want to pause here and see if we can get some audience questions. Yes, I see one hand up there. We'll go with you next. If you have a question for a particular panelist, like just call that out as well. Probably introduce yourself first.
Sure. Thank you, everyone. This has been really, really exciting to hear from you guys. Sorry for my voice. My name is Jenny Shetty, and I'm also a Customer Solutions Engineering Manager at Google. And I'm in that category where I have 15 plus years of experience. And just like, I'm in my midlife crisis right now in my personal life as well. And I am kind of thinking and rethinking a lot of things happening in my life. I'm also doing the same with my career as well. And I'm actively thinking about growth now that I've been a manager for a few years. And at Google as well, I'm in my dream company. What next, right? And as Suma, you rightly mentioned that learning is an important part of our journey, not just at the beginning, but I feel that I'm learning every day in my career as well. So I was very curious to understand that how do you approach and think about growth? So I actually have a twofold question, and sorry if I'm taking a lot of time. One is, how do you think about growth? Growth, say, after the age of 40, 45. And how are you actually going about that? And my second question was, what do you think about retirement? What do you want to do after 60? Are you actively thinking about that as well? So yeah, thank you.
Sure. You can have any.
Do you want any particular person of us to answer that question?
we can go with one speaker because we're like short on time. Suma, why don't you go ahead?
All right. Well, I think everybody in that age goes through that, and that's why it is called as midlife crisis. So all of us have gone through that. And do you think about what after 60? I think it's in this era, it's too far away to think about at a 40 years of age because things are changing like this, right? So you don't know. But I have seen my parents do that already, okay? When they were 40, they already had bought some piece of land. That's what the priority for my dad was. So he kind of did that. Uh, will we be able to do that? I think in certain parts of our life, we'll be able to do that. It is always about what is your priority, and that defines what is growth for you. Sometimes the priority could be that I want to be with the family and roz ka roz every day is night, evening shifts or evening calls are done. I'm done with it. That could be a priority. That's a possibility. So you may want to look at what priority that you're looking at for the next 5 years. It also depends on personal stage of life where you are in terms of how big, how good are, how big are your kids, how much of you, I think I can talk about it as a woman, we always look about what to do with the kids and where they are, how can we support them and things like that. So I think it depends on everybody's individual situation. But how do you define growth? I think think of priorities, but I don't know if any one of you want to add it. And growth, of course, many a times is associated with the financial growth, the paisa, the rokda, right? So that also is, if at all that's the priority, I think that's a valid one. And if you are not at a place where you think you're not getting it right, maybe your immediate manager or someone at home are the people to talk to about saying, hey, I don't think we are at the right stage financially speaking, how can we do better, right? From a home's perspective. Well, this is all I could think of. Anything else you want to add? Any one of you? Neha, you want to add something?
Thanks, Suma. I'm just looking for time if we can get one more question in. I think there's somebody, who raised their hand there. Can you get up and like pick a mic?
So you were telling how you networked at the speakers lounge and your elevator pitch. So can you hear it? Yeah. So I'm a student at Navya. I'm a student.
Wow, I wasn't expecting this. But yeah, I can surely, so I try to find a connection. So if you're going to tell me you're a student, I'm going to pitch for the Prayogshala program that I did. The way I do it is, hey, I'm Laksha Krishnan. I work for Google as a technical program manager. There is a very cool project that I run for engineering college women for them to enable smoother transition into the industry. Go check out my website, lakshashivramkrishnan.in. And if you're interested, like, just ping me on LinkedIn. I'll surely get back to you. Thank you. Oh, wow. Cool. I'll go back to my question that I truly believe that empowered women can empower more women. Madhu, my question to you is, how do you think success and successful women can support and empower those around them? I know you do it very often at work, and what are some of the strategies that folks here can take back?
First of all, I think it's super important that all of us intentionally think about empowering others and paying it forward. Don't think it is only meant for women with 20 plus years of experience, right? At any point in time, you have kind of women, young women looking up to you. So to me, I think this has changed over time. When I started in my early career, to me, success was very like milestone driven. Oh my God, when you become a CEO of something or VP of something, right? That is success. But that has evolved quite a bit. Now I'm all about journey than a particular milestone. And what I've realized is what I missed personally is real life models of women who are going through what I'm going through, right? To me, looking at somebody who is like a CEO of a big company is fantastic, aspirational. But what really helps me is to see somebody who is probably 2 to 3 years ahead of the journey that I'm taking, right? It's more tangible. So what I do right now is, honestly, I think that showing up every day, right, is the biggest thing I can do. and then being very honest about how imperfect the journey is, right? I don't ever want to paint a picture to say, look, girl, you can do everything, right? Yes, you can do everything, not at the same time. When you have things like motherhood and parenting and a lot of these things, it's what I do right now is just being very open about my journey, things that are really good, things are not good, right? I come and share very openly when my child is sick and I had to go to an important meeting and I took the meeting with a sick child on my lap. I talk about it openly because I think where we can really help is to show women that yes, this is possible. It's not going to be perfect, but that's completely okay. Still show up every day, be ready for that imperfection, but still keep doing it. You're not only kind of doing it for yourself, you're paving the path for who are coming right behind you. And for me, it's my younger cousins, my nieces who are kind of, look up to me as somebody they see now that I have children, young children, I still go to work. And I have my 3-year-old daughter who knows Amma works at Google, right? To me, right now, showing up and doing my thing and being open about the imperfections of it is how I empower women.
Thanks. Thank you so much, Madhu, for the vulnerability, for the candor. We can take more questions from the audience. I just wanted to ask one closing question, right? And we can start with you, Neha. What is one career advice that you would like to leave this audience with?
So, few things I've already shared, right? Keep an open mind, keep a growth mindset, get the foundation right, stick to the basics. One other thing which was a major part of my career was, there was a time when I had to put my career on a back burner when I had kids, and that is okay. That's perfectly fine, right? As Madhu also said, right? You cannot always do everything at the same time. I mean, you don't have to prove it to someone else. In fact, I still remember when I was expecting my first child, I asked my gynecologist, till when can I go to work? And she said, just ask your body, ask yourself. Don't compare that friend of mine was going to work till the last day before her delivery, so I also have to do that. Or just because someone else is telling you that don't go to work 3 months after you're pregnant or something, don't do that. And I followed that advice. In fact, for your own, I had 2 pregnancies. For my first pregnancy, I could work pretty much till the last week, so I was doing that. During my second pregnancy, I knew I could not work after my 8th month, so I started my maternity break early. And then when I had my first child, I wanted to give her more time. And so I decided, and thankfully I had a manager who allowed me to go part-time. I mean, I knew I could take a break also, but if I took a break, it would be very hard for me to come back. The inertia would be very high. So I decided to continue working, but working part-time. And after that, because of certain other constraints in my personal life, the part-time thing extended a little longer than I would have wanted to, but it's all okay, right? My career did stagnate, so to speak, that I did not get a promotion as much as for some time. But the thing is, when it had to happen, it happened, right? And then when I could work full time, things moved very well also. So I was still acquiring those skills, even though I was not getting promoted, so to speak. And I'm happy because in the end, this is the journey. I live my life. And recently, my almost 12-year-old daughter shared, and it was not that I asked her this, we were just having a discussion about being working and not working. She said, Mama, you manage so well, you take care of your kids also, and you're working so well. And this was not that I asked her, do you think, she just said it spontaneously. So I said the journey I took was all worth it.
Thanks for sharing. Suma? One career advice. We are very short on time.
Okay, I'll finish it with one word. Be curious. That's it.
Madhu?
Life and career is a long journey. 40 is the new 20, so don't be in a rush to get somewhere. Enjoy the journey.
Thank you. Deepa?
Build relationships, not just your resumes and skills and experience.
Thank you. Yeah, what I would add is just ask for what you want. There's always 50% more probability of hearing a yes. I'm not sure if you have time for some audience questions, or do we wrap up? yeah, we can take just one question. Yes.
You can
Ashwini, I'll
also
let you
hang
pick.
around, right, afterwards.
Pardon?
Yeah,
Yes,
we can hang around for
we can
questions.
be outside and answer some of the questions, but Ashwini, I'll let you choose. Sure. Some incentive for walking like till the end of the room.
Yeah, I'm really happy. Thank you to the thank you for sharing your inspirational journey with us and valuable insights. So to introduce myself, I am Vishaka Shetty with 5+ years of experience working as a software developer and 3+ years of experience working in a financial domain as a software developer. So I would like to ask you, Madhu, because your journey resonated with me a lot, where you started as a software developer and you wanted to learn more about the business, and you chose to do an MBA with still more technical. With me, it's similar, but with a difference is that I still want to pursue being a solution architect. That's what I see myself 5 years down the line, but for the payments industry. So payments or finance industry, I will say. So what are your thoughts? Like when we have such a domain-specific, we have such a domain-specific goal, for a solution architect, what would you suggest? Do we have to learn that particular domain 50% completely? Because finance itself is a different sector, I will say, than the technology. So I would like to know more from your perspective.
I would say come work with us in GPay. Only lightly kidding. So when you have a very domain-specific aspiration, to me, I think the best way is to always go work there and learn on the job. Even like I'm looking at most of us, none of us have a financial domain background. We all kind of like the team, the people, and learn domain along the way. I still think that's the best way to go about it. Obviously, know the basics of it, right? So if you don't know the basics, you don't know what you're getting into. And the best way to do it is to talk to people who are already in the industry, read the publications by RBI, NPC, etc. Fintech is currently one of the best things to work in India. So I think very good choice of domain, but don't feel like you have to be ready to apply. Talk to people. If you think it's the right thing, just jump in. And once you're in the job, you will be forced to learn anyway. So you will enjoy it.
Thank you. Thank you so much to the panelists, Neha, Suma, Madhu, Deepa. I totally enjoyed this journey of like hearing to all your stories, and we'll be around. I know like we're way over time. We'll be around in case like you have any questions for us. Over to you, Rachita, Ashwini.
Thank you so much. I hope you all had a great time. I know all of you have a lot more questions, but don't worry, we have our speakers right there. Please get to them, and as it's rightly said, connect with them, make connections and network with them. So thank you so much for the wonderful session. I call the track chair to present a memento from our side, anitaB.org. Please put your hands together for the speakers once again.
Picture. My phone. Thank you so much, Rachita. Thank you so much. Should we go? She has my phone. She'll click it. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Unfortunately, the next